starts with what is around the corner, right? So NCSC, that is making news, right? With the latest guideline about how you can turbocharge your vulnerability management programs and all of that. Now, one of the key thing that is part of your NCSC guideline is about the asset management, right? Which is a part of your vulnerability management program. And one of the key guidelines was about discovery. How do you discover all of your assets in your organization so that you have a VM program with 100% of the asset coverage, isn't it? So that's the first step, day 0, which is finding out all of your assets. Second, if you look at the guideline, right, all of the internet-facing assets needs to be discovered and patched within the 5 days, right? And by the way, as our CEO Sumed was mentioning that finding your internet-facing asset itself is a challenge, isn't it? And we are helping you with launching the free service. Not only that, but for attendees, those who are here, we have generated the free external attack surface management report. So please go to the demo booth and collect your external attack surface management report. If it is not there by mistake, if we missed it, then let the TAM knows, and then we will follow up with the free report for your organization, okay? So it's all about the asset management. Now, if you look at the NCSC, they have a very dedicated guideline when it comes to the asset management, right? And the first thing that they say, this is the language taken from the NCSC guideline. It's not my words. So this is exactly how the NCSC guideline for the asset management reads, right? So you should discover all of your assets on-prem, cloud, internet-facing, IoT, OT, and everything, right? That's the first one. Second, very interestingly, they says that you have to map all of your assets, software, devices to the owners and the department where it belongs to, right? Very interesting guideline. Third, they also talk about the absolute software and the extended support software that you are running in your environment. Meaning you have some end of life, end of service hardware, software operating system that you are running in your environment, right? Now, we have come up with the new free report called a tech debt report. And some of the sample reports are available. So in case if you are interested in finding out the tech debt for your organization, please talk to our TAM and we'll get you that. Next, it also talks about the CMDB program, and it clearly says that, hey, accurate and the availability of information in the CMDB is extremely important, and they know that the CMDB requires some sources to populate the data in it, right? So that's how exactly their language is. And then last but not least, they clearly says that you have to quickly identify the misconfiguration, and you have to launch a remediation at a scale, which is where, thank you all of you guys for using our patch management product for using the remediation, right? But finding out the misconfiguration. So these are some of the guidelines that are fresh from the NCSC. Language is taken from there. Now, the question is, all of this is there on the internet. But then how Qualys can help? How Qualys' cybersecurity asset management is going to help you align with the NCSC guideline if you are following that strictly. If not, still we have lots of features that you could use towards your attack surface management program, right? So let's start. Matt is already looking at me with a timer, so I need to run fast. And I have to give you the demo also. So the first step of measuring the risk is building your effective attack surface management program and finding all of your assets in your organization, right? Now, there is no one size fit all when it talks about the discovery. And that is where we have a very use case focus and very flexible and the pragmatic approach that you can start with the agent and the sensors that you have already deployed in your environment. Then we have a external attack surface management product, which is part of the same package. We are not charging you separately. So you can find your digital footprint on the internet. Next, for all of your cloud assets, we have a connector across the 5 clouds, and we can find entire cloud assets, including your S3 buckets, and you name it, we got it, right? Then we have a connector with your third party, like a BMC Helix CMDB, or a ServiceNow CMDB, or VMware, and the other Active Directory and all that is all shipping. So now, let's assume a scenario where a part of your environment where you do not have a Qualys agent or a scanner, and you still want to bring that into the asset management program and make it as a part of your vulnerability management program, then we got a third-party connector. Today morning, right, Himanshu gave a very interesting demo of enabling the cloud agent passive sensor. So if you can just deploy our agents, and agent is automatically going to snip the traffic and going to find out some of the raw devices in your environment, right? So end of the day, the customer who have been using this product line, they are finding up to 30% more assets, and this is how they turbocharge their risk-based VM program, right? So here is our solution, and now let's talk about quickly the external attack surface monitoring, which is as per the NCSC guideline. You are supposed to find out all of your assets on the internet and patch them, remediate them within 5 days. So how do we help you in finding out all of your assets? With our external attack surface monitoring product, where you do not need any agent or a sensor. All we need to put in is your top level organization name or your domain name. And then we are crawling on the internet and finding all the assets for your organization, your sub-organizations, your subsidiaries, your merger and acquisitions, and everything that is on internet. On an average, we have seen that the organizations who runs this external attack surface monitoring, we find up to 30% unknown assets that came through either a merger or acquisition or through the subsidiaries or engineering team had exposed something on the internet that they did not know, right? Now, once we find these assets, then we are finding out some of the security gaps. For example, what are the vulnerability exist on your internet-facing assets, right? What are the open port, like RDP port or SSH port that is left open on the internet, which poses a significant risk. Remember, for your internal environment, if you had SSH port open, it's okay. But SSH port or RDP port open on the internet-facing asset, now that's the red carpet for the attacker, isn't it? Now, last but not least, and once you find those assets, right, the question here is, like as per the NCSC guideline or even before the NCSC guideline, the vulnerability management team always want to find assets and make sure that you are scanning everything as a part of your VM program. So with our one-click workflow, as you see, you discover all of your internet-facing assets, including your web servers, including APIs, including the domain, subdomain, and with a one-click, you can launch the vulnerability scan, web application scanning, or a policy compliance scanning. In fact, with our built-in integrations with the ServiceNow CMDB and the BMC Helix CMDB, you can take those assets and put it in your CMDB as well, right? So everything is a part of the same package. And here, just quickly to give you an idea, when it comes to the external attack surface discovery, we have a patent pending technology to crawl on the internet and help you accurately find more assets that belongs to your organization without missing assets and coming up with the confidence score to reduce the noise, because often a time our customer that you guys have told us that, hey, there is a lot of false positive on the internet. So we have built a patent pending algorithm where we are improving the accuracy and the high fidelity detection so that you exactly know that these assets belong to your organization. And after the discovery, we are also showing you high, medium, low confidence score. So then you know that this asset with a high confidence score is 100% attributed to my organization, right? So that's how we have filed this patent, which is currently pending. Now that was all about the external part. Now let's quickly jump onto the internal attack surface, right? This is where Himanshu showed a very interesting demo that the agent that you have deployed in your environment, now we are maximizing ROI on your agent deployment. Now the same agents are now listening on your network traffic and finding some of the raw, unknown, unauthorized devices where the agent may not be deployed, where the sensor is not sensing, right? And all of those assets that with our cloud agent passive sensor we are finding, which are part of your internal environment, right? Now, once we find all of your assets, whether it is cloud or on-prem or internet facing or OT or IoT, you name it, and all of your assets with our sensor, agent, agentless, APIs, and all of that is part of our system. So once we get that, what do? We can sync with your ServiceNow CMDB so that your CMDB is populated with the asset data. And next what we do is find out some of the end of life, end of service, and the unauthorized software, unauthorized ports that are running on the system. and we can find out if your critical asset has your DLP software deployed or a zero trust gateway is deployed, right? So in that way, you know that your assets are protected, and all of this is computed towards the calculating the true risk for your organization, right? Now quickly, I know Matt is showing me the timer already, but and then outside of this, we have a built-in connector, as I said, right, where we can get the data from your Active Directory and ServiceNow CMDB or a VMware. And we are also working on the building the connector for a CrowdStrike and Zscaler and the SentinelOne of the world, so that, you know, for a part of your environment where you have CrowdStrike agent and Qualys agents are not deployed, but you are doing a vulnerability management with us and you want to bring those assets, we have those connectors for you to bring in those assets into our system. Right, okay. So bringing it together, external, internal, cloud, on-prem, so you get to see everything from a one pane of a glass. Then we got a bunch of built-in reports for a different persona, whether you want to communicate to your executive with executive style reporting, or you have a CMDB administration team that or a Splunk team where you want to aggregate everything, then we got a report for that as well. If you have a different team for a cloud, you have a team for different team for the assets, and you want to download some of those reports and provide them, we got it. And finally, eliminating the risk, right, is all about finding all of your assets which perhaps you may or may not be aware, and getting them to your VM program or policy compliance, finding all of your end of life, end of service. And then we have if you have unauthorized software that are running, or the software that are already end of life, end of service, and that are not used, and you want to uninstall so that you can reduce your licensing cost, all of those options are built in the product, right? With that said, I would actually switch on to the demo. So can you please bring on the demo screen? Matt is clear showing me the timer all the time, man. Why do you do this to me?
It's fun.
All right, so let's get started. The first step was all about building the inventory, right? So this is where you see we have a different sensors, different sources to build your inventory, whether ServiceNow CMDB connector, cloud connector, external attack surface, right? So now once you build all of those connectors and you have inventory, you can see that you have unmanaged assets which you are not scanning in your VM program, right? The one that we are discovering through the different sources, and you are not scanning, right? Your internal, external assets, the cloud agent, passive sensor detected assets, right? You see the different methods in which we have discovered all of your assets, right? So UASM assets, the cloud agent, Active Directory connector we have, because any device that is part of your environment is perhaps authenticating with your Active Directory, so we can find those assets through that as well. Now quickly, you have one of the assets that is called a discover through cloud agent passive sensor. Now you see the quick workflow that you can quickly see the risk of that asset, and then you can select that asset and you can decide either to ignore it or launch the policy compliance or the VM scan, as I said, right? So now, starting from finding out unknown, unauthorized asset, and then bringing them to the VM or the policy compliance, right? And all of that is built into the product. Not only that, but like I said, besides the agent, sensor, and all of that, we got these third-party connectors through which you can get all of those assets where our agent and scanner and sensors are not deployed with our Active Directory, BMC, Helix, and other connector. 2 more minutes for UASM. So once you get all of this, all the assets are in the system. Now let's jump onto the CISO dashboard, and as you can see quickly, all of your external, internal, unmanaged assets, and your assets with the where you have a business applications running, right? You see the assets which are part of your critical business applications based on the risk and everything. Now quickly you want to deep dive and say, hey, look, you got a support department where you have one of the server with the high risk, right? So now you click and you deep dive into the risk for that. And as you see that this is the asset where we have a higher true risk of 892. And you see the various options like vulnerability, what are the end of support software running on there, right, which environment it is, it's part of your business applications, finance applications, all of that data helps you in quickly prioritizing and remediating based on where the risk is. Right now, let me quickly, Matt, okay, I wanted to just show the UASM part and then, all right. So here is where the UASM fun starts. So now here is where you can create your discovery profile configuration, right? And this is the one thing that comes up all the time that, hey, can I configure and provide my own domains, subdomains, IP ranges that I want to discover, and if I want to exclude anything. So all of those options are now available for you, and we are providing working on creating a workflow where you could do the bulk import of your domain that your domain hosting team may have given, right? So you would be able to bring it, and additionally, now when we discover those internet-facing assets, with a one click, you can select this option, and we will launch the scan automatically for you guys, right? So everything is built in, and it's and by the way, you could create a multiple profile, each for your merger and acquisitions or subsidiaries. So in that way, the assets are not mixed together. You can see complete separate assets in a different profile, and then you can generate the report for that and share it with your team, right? So with that said, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate you for joining here. The free report is available for you in a similar style, so go to the booth and we will give you this free report for your organization. In case if we missed it, then please talk to our TAM and he will get you the report. Thank you so much, guys.